Welcome into NFL Daily, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. On today's show, we will break down the top 10 Carolina Panthers head coaching candidates as Matt Rhule has officially been fired as the Carolina Panthers head coach. Rhule was there for the last few seasons and did not have any success in this stretch that he was with the Carolina Panthers. He got to go with several quarterbacks in his stretch, from the likes of Teddy Bridgewater to Baker Mayfield to Sam Darnold to Cam Newton, P.J. Walker, just to name a few. He had opportunities time and time again, but could never make things work, and this team never found their right footing. I think everybody kind of points to last year when they got off to a pretty decent start to the 2021 season, and things went downhill pretty fast for Matt Rhule. Going into this year, Matt Rhule, his seat was hotter than any coach in the National Football League going into this season, and sure enough, he is the first one fired after Week 5. So with that, did the Panthers make the right call in firing Matt Rhule? You look at Matt Rhule, he's a guy that was successful in college, a winner at Baylor and at Temple, but just didn't work out with the Carolina Panthers. For me, this was an easy call. I like Matt Rhule. He's a great guy. He's got a great story. What he was able to do to turn around that Baylor program was outstanding. But at the end of the day, this was a failed marriage. It just didn't work. It wasn't the right fit for the Carolina Panthers. Matt Rhule is probably going to find himself back coaching in college football, I would think, in the near future. What say you? Did the Panthers get it right? If so, type Y for yes. If not, type in for no. Let us know in the comments section below. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it and get your votes in if the Panthers made the right call to fire Matt Rhule. Y for yes, in for no. So the first name on my list of the top 10 candidates most likely to land the Panthers coaching job, I have Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Byron Leftwich came very close to being an NFL head coach last year, was one of the finalists for the Jacksonville Jaguars job, but ultimately did not take that, stayed in Tampa Bay. And what we've seen from Leftwich the last few years, since Tom Brady has come into the fold, he was able to adapt the offense to Tom Brady's strengths, even working with Bruce Arians and trying to find a happy medium of the Bruce Arians scheme and what Tom Brady does well, and he's done a really good job with that. Won a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His name is going to be mentioned with every head coaching job that is available over the next couple of months. The number 2 name on my list is Sean Payton, the former New Orleans Saints head coach, now an analyst for the NFL on Fox, and there is a belief among most people that Sean Payton will be back as an NFL head coach next season, and his name has been thrown around most with the Dallas Cowboys job, but the Cowboys have looked fairly good to this point with just one loss on the season. Who knows if that job is even going to be open officially or not. But with Sean Payton, although he's a big name and has won a Super Bowl, you have to think that especially in a situation like this in Carolina where he would be an interdivision situation, whoever brings in Sean Payton will have to trade for him because he's still under contract with the Saints, and the Saints still own his rights. So with that, are the Saints willing to let Sean Payton go to a division rival? And what's that king's ransom going to look like to get him there? There's a lot of obstacles in the way of potentially getting Payton from New Orleans to Carolina as far as that goes. Number 3 on our list is Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Now, Frazier was the former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and things did not go so well in Minnesota for Leslie Frazier. Had limited success, just one playoff appearance in his time in Minnesota, but his defenses there in Buffalo have been really good over the last several seasons. Have to think that his name is going to pop up, and we'll see if he gets a second chance effort to prove himself again. Number 4 on my list. To me, this one is a sneaky good name. DeMeco Ryans. We remember the really good career that he had in the National Football League And it doesn't even seem like that long ago he was playing. Now his name is being brought up for NFL head coaching jobs. And the 49ers defense under DeMeco Ryans has been outstanding for what he's been able to do. That team getting to the NFC Championship game last year. And what we've seen out of DeMeco Ryans in the San Francisco 49ers, that offense has been lethargic at times, mostly with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. They've been winning games because of their defense. With what DeMeco Ryans has been able to coach up that group on the defensive side of the ball, DeMeco Ryans deserves a lot of credit and deserves to be an NFL head coach. Number 5 on my list is former Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer. Now, things did not end well for Mike Zimmer with the Minnesota Vikings. Left a lot to be desired. Viking fans were demanding that Zimmer be fired for a very long time, but there was still some peaks and valleys for Zimmer in his time in Minnesota. Remember, they did go to an NFC Championship game. I know that seems like a long time ago, but there were some good moments for Mike Zimmer from time to time there. And I think that if you look at Zimmer, although things did not end well in Minnesota, Mike Zimmer is still probably better than a decent number of head coaches in the National Football League. So with that, Zimmer, I think, will be a head coach again in the not-too-distant future. I don't know if it's this offseason or next, but Zimmer's track record, although things did not finish like many people hoped it would in Minnesota, for the good that occurred, I think that's enough that gives Zimmer a shot. A defensive-minded head coach, Zimmer could be a potential candidate here for the Panthers. We have more names to get to. The next 5 I'll show you on my list in just one second. But now it's your turn here on NFL Daily. Who do you think should be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers? Let us know in the comments section whether it's a name we mention or somebody we do not mention. Let us know here in the comments section who you believe should be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Today's show is presented by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. You put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free with their 125% deposit bonus. You go to chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily at checkout to get that deal. And you may be wondering, how does that all work? Well, it's like you buy a pizza and you get an extra pizza and a slice for free. That's the deal that BetUS is offering just for viewers of NFL Daily. Sign up now, chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. Continuing with our Panthers coach hot board now, we turn our attention to the number 6 candidate on our list. That is Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy. Now, look, Bieniemy, this is a guy that has won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, that his name has been mentioned for a lot of jobs over the last few years. He's interviewed, he's been a finalist for numerous jobs, but ultimately has been passed over time and time again. And when you also factor in that there's a checkered past with Eric Bieniemy, dating back several years with breaking the law, and also factoring in the relationship with Patrick Mahomes. We've seen some altercations on the sidelines between Bieniemy and Mahomes, of them just not being on the same page and making that known visibly, publicly, between Bieniemy and Mahomes. And then there's also the factor we heard from LaShawn McCoy not too long ago, the former Chiefs running back who's now working for Fox, say that Bieniemy's just not a player's coach. So, look, I mean, Bieniemy, you look at what he's done from a mindset, I mean, he knows the game. That's clear. But the relationship side of things and the questionable history with Bieniemy, that's what puts him behind the 8 ball here. If you hire Eric Bieniemy, you may not be getting a people person necessarily there. And so that is the biggest thing. It's not what Bieniemy has done, his talent as a football mind, but the other factors, the relationships and the other things that get in the way of Eric Bieniemy potentially being a head coach. Number 7 on our list is Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, former Atlanta Falcons head coach. And Dan Quinn, look, he took the Falcons to a Super Bowl, and if you remember, it was that infamous 28-3 game. And ever since then, things went so downhill for Dan Quinn with the Atlanta Falcons after that and just never really recovered that point going forward. Since then, he's been the defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, and he has done a terrific job as the DC for the Dallas Cowboys. And Dan Quinn's a guy that I think you look at and you say, look, he's shown that he can take teams to the promised land. They didn't necessarily get the job done, but this is a guy that has been successful in the past. And so something to keep in mind there. If you're looking for a defensive head coach, somebody with experience, Dan Quinn could be your guy. Speaking of former head coaches, Jim Caldwell enters our list at number 8, the former Detroit Lions and Indianapolis head coach. And I feel bad for Jim Caldwell. I did not think he deserved to be fired from the Detroit Lions. And in Indianapolis, he was fired from that job after Peyton Manning missed an entire season, and that team just fell apart without Manning, only won 2 games that year, ended up with the number 1 pick to get Andrew Luck. But, I mean, there was a lot of circumstances that were beyond his control, which led to him getting fired at Detroit and Indianapolis. For Jim Caldwell, I feel like that he's been the scapegoat numerous times. And he's not coaching. He's not doing anything right now, and that's unfortunate. Jim Caldwell should be a head coach in the National Football League, and maybe the Panthers could be that right fit, potentially. Number 9 on my list is Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys, the second coordinator from Dallas on our list here. And Kellen Moore, I think, has done a good job in Dallas. He's been very creative at times. I mean, you look at this offense right now in Dallas with Dak out and what they've been able to do with Cooper Rush, the way that they've been able to adapt and win football games. The fact that Cooper Rush is undefeated right now as a starting quarterback, that falls on Kellen Moore. What he's been able to do, and he and Dak have been a really good combination for the most part as well. I like Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, I think, will be a head coach at some point. He very well might be the next Cowboys head coach if that job were to open potentially. But Kellen Moore is somebody that I think is on the outside. He's not one of the top candidates, but he could be thrown around for some of these other jobs here that open up. Last one is an obvious name, Steve Wilks, who is the interim head coach for the Panthers right now. He has been a head coach before. That was with the Arizona Cardinals, had the worst record in the league, was fired after 1 year in Arizona. Now he gets an audition here to see if he is going to be the Panthers head coach. Now, I mean, let's face it. You know, the odds are stacked up against him here. I think the Panthers are going to prioritize the coaches on their list that are not within the organization, that they want a fresh face. But I wouldn't rule it out, the possibility of Steve Wilks. If he performs well, then his name will certainly be considered here. And you have a guy in Baker Mayfield that has had success in the past. You have some talented players on that roster. If Steve Wilks can find a way to turn things around, then he'll get a shot. We'll see. But that is my list. Now, which coach will get fired next? What will be the next job opening to occur? We know this will happen in the National Football League. It's the nature of the business sometimes. Who will be the next head coach to get fired? Let us know in the comments section. And when that next head coach gets fired, we're going to cover it here on the NFL Daily. We'll be doing these hot boards for every NFL head coaching job across the National Football League. This is the place to be for the latest NFL news, rumors, live shows, and more. Subscribe now. Be a real one and join us each and every day here on NFL Daily, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.